There was once a young traveler named Elias, who believed that success only belonged to those who could clearly see their path. Elias lived in a small village surrounded by mountains and forests. Every day he watched successful merchants and respected leaders walk confidently through the town. They seemed certain, they seemed guided, they seemed to know exactly where they were going. Elias often wondered why his own life felt so different. Whenever he tried something new, he felt lost. Whenever he made a decision, doubt followed him. He often said to himself, "Maybe I just can't see the right path." One evening, feeling frustrated and confused about his future, Elias left the village and walked toward the forest. The sun slowly disappeared behind the mountains, and darkness began to fill the trees. At first, Elias thought he should turn back, but something inside him said, "Keep walking." Soon, the forest became completely dark. The path disappeared. The sounds of the night surrounded him, the wind in the trees, the rustling of leaves, and the distant calls of animals. Elias felt a growing fear. "How can anything live in such darkness?" he whispered. Just then, something flew past his head, then another, and another. Elias looked up and saw dozens of small shadows moving quickly through the night sky. Bats. They moved with incredible speed, turning sharply, diving between trees, flying through darkness as if they could see everything. Elias was confused. How can they move so confidently in the dark when I can't even see the ground beneath my feet? At that moment, an old man stepped out from behind a tree. He was a forest keeper who had lived near the mountains for many years. The old man looked up at the bats and smiled. "Beautiful creatures, aren't they?" he said. Elias nodded slowly. "But how do they do that?" Elias asked. "They can't see in the dark, can they?" The old man chuckled. "No," he replied. "They don't rely on sight the way we do. Instead, they send out tiny sounds. Those sounds bounce off trees, rocks, and insects. And when the echoes return, the bats understand exactly where everything is." Elias listened carefully. "You mean they find their way using echoes?" "Yes," the old man said. "They create their own guidance." Elias looked again at the bats dancing through the night sky. For a moment, he felt something shift in his mind. "You see," the old man continued, "many people believe they must see the entire path before they begin. But life rarely works that way." The old man pointed toward the forest. "The bats move forward first. Then they listen, and the world answers them." Elias stayed silent. The old man continued speaking gently. "If bats waited until the night became bright, they would never fly. If they demanded perfect visibility, they would starve. So instead, they trust their ability to navigate the unknown." The wind moved softly through the trees. Above them, the bats continued their silent dance in the darkness. Elias suddenly realized something. All his life, he'd been waiting for certainty, waiting for someone to show him the perfect road, waiting for a sign that guaranteed success. But maybe that sign would never come. The old man seemed to read his thoughts. "Most people," he said, "spend their lives standing still because they are afraid of the dark. But the dark is not your enemy. It is simply the place where your abilities begin to grow." Elias slowly stood up. He looked into the forest again. It was still dark, still uncertain, still full of unknown paths. But somehow, it didn't feel as frightening anymore. Above him, the bats continued flying with confidence through the night. And for the first time, Elias understood something powerful. You don't need perfect vision to move forward. You only need the courage to take the next step, and the wisdom to listen to the echoes that return. Years later, Elias became known as one of the wisest travelers in many lands. Whenever young people asked him how to find their path in life, he would smile and tell them a simple story. A story about a quiet forest, a dark night, and a small creature that mastered the darkness. Because sometimes, the greatest lesson in life is not learning how to see the light, but learning how to navigate the dark. And perhaps, in each of our lives, there will be moments just like the ones Elias faced. Moments when the path ahead becomes unclear. Moments when we don't know where we should go, or when we are not even sure if we are heading in the right direction. But maybe the lesson from the bat reminds us of something very simple. You don't need to see the entire path ahead. You only need the courage to take the next step. And as you keep moving forward, life will slowly begin to answer. What about you? Have you ever felt like you were walking through the darkness of life? And what helped you keep moving forward? Share your thoughts in the comments. I always read your stories. If you enjoy meaningful stories like this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next stories. Because sometimes, one small story can change the way we see our entire life.